EKSE Live right here on TSTV channel 263, the People's Channel, your favorite channel, my favorite channel, everybody's favorite channel. And of course, it's hashtag Talk Thursday. And I'm glad we're talking about very important issues. Earlier on the show, we're talking about meditation and of course manifestation. But today, we want to bring it a bit closer to home and speak about, gender-based violence in wonderful organizations, that make sure that they help and assist, when it comes to curbing the scourge of gender-based violence within South Africa. And one of that is, of course, is Sisters Incorporated, and it plays a very critical role in protecting, supporting, and empowering women and all their children who are survivors of domestic violence, abuse, and of course the stigmatization that is so prevalent and widespread in our communities. And it has a history spanning over 60 years in Cape Town. Sisters Incorporated has evolved from being a refuge for single mothers into a safe haven that cares for women and their children from all walks of life. And of course, I'm not having this conversation alone today. We are joined, of course, by Delene Roberts, who is the manager of Sisters Incorporated, as well as Melissa Mpanyaza, who is the administrator. Thank you so much for joining us on this show. That was a mouthful of an introduction, I must add. The work that you do is so amazing, and I'm so happy that we have such organizations that provide these safe havens for women and children within South Africa, because gender-based violence is a real issue. Now, perhaps for someone that is watching this from home and they're not aware about the beautiful work that you do as an organization, please just tell us more about what Sisters Incorporated is about.
So Sisters Incorporated started in the year of 1959. It was started by 4 doctors' wives. So it started in an era where it was a shame to be single and pregnant. So basically what would happen is the young lady will be taken in, she will give birth, the baby will be given up for adoption, and then she would go home. But over the years, when abortion became legal, then everything changed. So the criteria, everything changed, and then it became a home of safety for women and their children who is abused, as well as rape victims, as well as if you're still pregnant and you want to give baby up for adoption.
And maybe coming to you, Dylan, let's touch on why the organization Sisters Incorporated decided, or maybe perhaps not decided, but saw the need to focus mainly on women that have been abused and children that have been abused and abandoned.
I won't say abandoned, because we don't take in children on their own.
Okay.
We take in the children, the woman with their child.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also, just for those, like you said, for those that don't know about the organization, we take children over the age of 9 months, purely because of the adoption procedure, and girls in age up to 18, boys only up to the age of 10, because boys, sorry to whoever's listening, but boys do also start acting out at a very young age. So that is who we service. But because of that fact that abortion was legalized, we needed to look at a broader spectrum for abuse. So we render services to women that comes from domestic violence and interpersonal violence. Interpersonal violence speaks to whether it's somebody else than the partner. So it doesn't limit who we can take in.
And I know personally, from having an organization myself, that running an NGO or an NPO can be very challenging when it comes to funds, when it comes to sponsorships and all of those things. Take us through some of the challenges that you might have encountered as Sisters Incorporated, and how are you able to leverage that?
Okay. One of the main things at the moment is funding. Department of Social Development does subsidize us, but 30% of our budget. So the rest we need to source. And that can be very difficult. I mean, after COVID, everything went financially, it's just been another lowdown. The other challenges that we find is that we don't have quick enough service to a medical nurse or psychiatric nurse, because women show signs of mental health issues
and
depression, and definitely the trauma plays a big role. So we have that kind of challenge. We also have the housing challenge. Department of Human Settlements, if they can acknowledge that a woman that goes through abuse is part of the vulnerable group, then that, and they could add them on that list, because there is a vulnerable group list on Department of Human Settlements. If they can just add the abused women and their children to that list, then we will have access to low-cost housing for them. And that's another challenge. Where do they go to from Sisters Incorporated? Back to the perpetrator, because they do not have enough money to be able to go on their own.
Sure, that was very heavy. You know, I think just getting into the reality of women and children in South Africa, and we look at the stage, you know, of that and the conditions and circumstances that women are subjected to. As women yourself, you fear for your life and you fear for your sisters and your mothers. Tell us about some of the programs and the projects that you run under your organization to empower the children and, of course, the women.
Okay, so currently we've partnered with On the Ball Foundation and College, who has set up a resource center at our organization.
Oh, wow.
And that is to up the skills of the ladies, IT skills. So it's a resource center, but it's got computers, it's got PCs. So us as a staff will be trained to train them as well. And once they are done, they will get certificates. Then we also have partnerships with the Equinox Trust, as well as Sweet Fragrance. Then we also have our own skills department, which we have a skills facilitator who then teaches the ladies how to do sewing, beading, artwork, painting, as well as needlework.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned all of those programs, because it means that they're empowered in the space and they're able to use the skills that they learn under the organization to go, you know, make a life out of themselves once they've left the organization. Now, before we wrap up the interview, I'd really love to know, what are your plans for 2023 and how can people that are watching, maybe potential sponsors, sponsor and help with the organization?
Our goals for 2023, in simple words, our theme for this year is keeping Sisters Incorporated relevant. Relevant with the times, relevant with rendering services. So that even if our social worker, the services that she renders is relevant to the challenges that women face.
Yeah.
And how people can help to sponsorship donors. We've got a lot of, like we spoke about challenges earlier, we've got maintenance challenges, we've got overhead challenges. Any donation, whether in kind, whether financial, we do not turn you away. That's how they can help. But our goal is to keep our organization sustainable for future and to keep them relevant.
Thank you so much for coming to studio and having this conversation with us. I hope that the people at home are inspired to ensure that they support such organizations, because I think it's very much needed for us to have more of these organizations in South Africa to support women and children, because, you know, we are literally at the foot of gender-based violence. You hear so many cases about women being raped, women being killed on a daily basis. I think the stats now saying that a woman is killed every 3 hours, and that's scary, because if a woman is killed, who's the child going to be left by? You know, because the father is a perpetrator, the father goes to jail. So it's so important for us to have these type of organizations. And thank you so much for the beautiful work that you do. I pray and I hope that you receive, you know, funding so that the organization is able to stay relevant, you know, 10 years, 15, 20 years from now, and we are able to ensure that we make a social justice change within our communities. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, EKSE on the other side of studio, we have Ulwandile Nokizia.